Before we start our video today, grade 9s, please make sure you get a pencil and a piece of paper so you can do some math with me. Today our lesson is on multiplying polynomials by a monomial. We have already learned how to add polynomials and how to subtract polynomials, and today's lesson will be about multiplying. So if you have your pencil and your piece of paper in your hand, we can start with the first example together. So let's look at this. We have 4x squared plus 3x in the bracket, and in front of the bracket we have a 2. Now let's just remember what this means on the inside. It means I've got 4 squares, and over here I've got 3 x's. Now what this 2 on the outside means is it means I've got all of this stuff 2 times. So I don't just have 4x squared and then 3x. I have that 2 times. So I have another x squared, 4 squares here. And I have another 3x's here. So all together, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I would have 8x squared. And if I have this 2 times, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would have 6 x's. Now, there must be a way you can do that simply without having to draw it. I can see that if I have 8, the way I got the 8 here was I did 4 times 2. I took this number here and I multiplied the 4 times 2. And then in the same way, I took the 3 and I multiplied it by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So anytime you have a number in the front of a bracket, it means we are multiplying because I have the stuff in the bracket that many times. So let's try another one, okay? Let's try 4 times x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay, let's remember what we have in the bracket. We have 1x squared, we have 3 x's, and then we have 2. But I don't just have that one time, I actually have it 4 times. I've got another square, another 3 x's, another 2. I've got it another time, a square, 3 x's, and 2. And the last time, I've got a square, I've got 3 x's, and I have 2. I've got this stuff right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So all together, I have 4x squared. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 x's, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8. Let's check to see if what we did over here, the multiplying, will give us the same answer. I think it will. So I'm going to multiply this by 4. I'm going to multiply this by 4. I'm going to multiply this by 4. 2 times 4 is clearly 8. 3 times 4 is clearly 12. Now, what's the number in front of here? It's not 0, it's 1. 1 times 4 is 4. So yes, it works. Let's just try one more together. If I have 97, 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 40x's minus 17. Now, we certainly would not want to draw this on the inside. It would be a lot of drawing, especially if we had to do it 97 times. So let's just multiply everything by 97. And this time, you can see that there are negatives. That's okay. With my calculator, I'm going to go 2 times 97. What is 2 times 97? Get your calculator out and try it. Think. It's 194. And don't forget, that means I have 194 cubes. So 194 x cubes. Now, we need to do 97 times negative 3. Don't forget, these two things go together. So 97 times negative 3. Get your calculator out. You do 97 times, or maybe it's this button. If I do that, I'm doing mental math right now. 97 times negative 3 is going to give you 291 negative. 291x squared. Okay, and then I want to multiply 97 times 40. So 97 times 40 is going to give me 388 x's. And this, I cannot do that in my head. I need a calculator. 97 times negative 17. Pull up my computer. 97 times negative 17 equals negative 1,649. So that's multiplying polynomials. That's pretty straightforward. The only time it gets tricky is that sometimes in front of this bracket, there is an x. There is a variable out here. In all the cases we did today, so far, we had 2, we had 4, we had 97. We didn't have a variable in front. So we're going to see what happens when we have a variable. But before we do that, I want you to remember something we learned about measurement. When we were in our measurement unit, we learned that the area of a circle is pi r squared. And that just means pi times r times r. We also learned that when we're doing the volume of a cylinder, and I have pi r squared h, that means pi times r times r times h. And lastly, we learned that when we have a sphere, remember like a ball, and I wanted to find the volume of that, the formula is 4 divided by 3 times pi r cubed. And that means 4 divided by 3 times pi times r times r times r. If you can remember how we use those formulas, it's really going to help you with the next part of this lesson. This question is similar to the ones we've done already. We're multiplying 4x plus 3 times 2, but we're also multiplying by x. So this makes the question a little bit more complicated. So what I want to remember is I need to multiply both parts by 2, but I also need to multiply both parts by x. Okay, so what I have is I have 4 times 2 is 8, and I have x times x. And then over here, I have 3 times 2 is 6, and I have x. Now this is great, except for there must be a better way I can write down x times x. Well, if you think back to our formulas for area, when I had r times r, that was the same thing as r squared. Remember? Pi r squared is the same thing as pi times r times r. R times r was r squared. So if I have x times x, that's just going to be x squared. And then you're all done the multiplying question. Not so difficult. You just need to remember that you need to put the exponent with the x. Let's try another one. If I have 3x squared times 4x minus 8. Okay, that means I need to multiply both of these things times 3. But I also need to multiply both of these things times x squared. X squared, x squared. Okay, what does that give us? 3 times 4 is 12. And then I have x times x for x squared times the extra x here. And then here I've got 3 times 8. And remember, you have to go 3 times minus 8. So it's going to be minus 24. And I've got x. Now we should simplify this or write it a little nicer. So this means 12. If I have x times x times x, that's just like when I have this formula here. This was for a sphere, and we knew that this meant 4 times pi times r times r times r divided by 3. If I have r times r times r, it means r cubed. So if I have x times x times x, it means x cubed minus 24. Here I have x times x, just like r times r. So that means it's going to be x squared. That is multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. And when you see this word monomial, it's just a fancy math word that means that there's only one part. 3x would be a monomial. 2x would be a monomial. 17 would be a monomial. But if I had 3x plus 2, that would not be a monomial because there's two parts. And so when we get to grade 10, we'll learn how to multiply a polynomial by something like this. But this year, we're only going to have one thing in front of the bracket. So these are the two questions that I would like you to try, and they are actually from assignment number 3. If you look at the chart, you'll find them under video number 4, and I would love for you to write the correct answers in that box on the right so you have it all collected so you can hand it in at the end of the 2-week period. Have a great day, and leave a comment in my video to let me know whether you understand or not.